Fantasy fanfiction. Foundation. Start with American comics. Exposure and Advent. Chapter 41. Gotham City. Brush. Bruce got up from his seat suddenly, his frown was about to twist into Sichuan characters. Unexpectedly. Erupted. There was a bit of horror on Bruce's solemn face. That piercing logo is nothing else. It is a nuclear power plant. Looking at the scale of the explosion on the screen, even if it is not comparable to the release of nuclear weapons, it will not be much different. The third nuclear explosion. Coincidentally, it detonated again on a small day. As if history repeats itself. The vast islands in the sea seem to have a different attraction to nuclear weapons. Mutant Academy. Professor, I think we can locate the location. Chin Nu's expression was a little stiff. The small days area is cumbersome, and it is difficult to lock the location in a short period of time, but the number of nuclear power plants in their territory is definitely not many, or even very few. Through the general characteristics of the sea area, the location can be quickly locked. Not only them, but experts who are proficient in geography can analyze it in minutes. Military. Has the nuclear power plant been breached by that monster? The young Major General had a horrified look in his eyes. It's the immortal lizard. The colleague next to him corrected him. But all eyes. From the beginning to the end, he never left the screen, staring at the rising smoke cloud in the picture. Hope could not help but rise in my heart. Meeting. Is this the end? This is an explosion of a nuclear power plant, and the impact is immeasurable, especially the indestructible lizard, which bites through itself, and the damage it receives at a negative distance is not even much weaker than a nuclear bomb in the face. The high-yield nuclear bombs that were ready to go were all stuck on the silo, waiting for the next scene. Click it, click it, click it. Crawling out of the ruins, biting the mechanical ruins. The ferocious figure of Bu Mie Nishi clearly defeated everyone's delusion. When the whole cards they were proud of failed, their inner self-confidence was directly shattered. Should we continue to drop nukes? In the eyes of everyone present, there was a look of fear and uneasiness. All that answered them was a deep silence. Yin Yang's invincible arrogance was completely overwhelmed. It's terrifying. Doesn't nuclear radiation have any effect on him? Indestructible evil lizard. Indestructible. This level of immortality, can anyone really solve it? Just kidding, a monster of this level. After seeing the immortal lizard crawling out of the ruins, the internet instantly exploded. All kinds of negative remarks are rampant. Nuclear doomsday can still rely on fortifications to hide in the ground, but once this monster develops, it will definitely eat up the earth. The perverted ability destroyed everyone's defenses. Don't worry. There's a turning point. The Avengers Alliance is here. It's the Avengers. In a barrage of mourning. The red-hot remarks flashed across, instantly attracting the attention of many die-hard fans. In the billowing cloud of smoke, surrounded by endless scorched earth, the vitality was completely destroyed and turned into a wreck that could not bear to look directly at, just like the hell in Legendary. Zilla. The aperture keeps expanding from nothing. Doctor Strange, who opened a portal on the ground, came out with other members of the Avengers Alliance. Although Eye of Agamotto was still on Ancient One just in case, he had already put on the cloak suit. It's all deliberately concealed by those high-level officials. Seeing the scene of natural disasters crossing the border in front of him, Captain America frowned, with a rare expression of anger. If only they could come as soon as they heard the news. They might be able to stop the havoc. Hee. Haven't they always been like this? Black Widow curled his lips and didn't care. With those guys' greedy character, he has long been used to it. Facing such a terrifying monster, he didn't want to seize the opportunity and take the opportunity to seize the flesh and blood for research. Danger. The real high-level people only have interests in their eyes. As long as there is enough interest, they can even sell their own twisted ropes. Everyone. Instead of arguing about this, I think we should find a way to deal with this big guy first. Thor carries Mjolnir. His expression was rare and dignified. A monster of this scale, even on his way to conquer the 9 realms, is considered top-notch. Not only can't he be killed, but he can also absorb material growth, which is definitely bad news for his profession, which is almost crazy warrior. Rumble. Amidst the roaring noise, a new round of battle slowly unfolded. This time, it's the collision of superpowers and monsters. Stark building. Prickly. Prickly. The sound of mechanical roar kept ringing in the workshop. An unkillable monster. Tony looked up at the picture on the screen, with a bit of horror in his eyes. That's right. He did not go to the battlefield this time. With a deep understanding of his own strength, Tony, who was meaningless even if he appeared on the stage, directly chose to stay at the base to improve and develop his own battle suit. The current Mark battle suit may be enough to deal with the common villains, but it is not suitable for the increasingly terrifying containment. It's useless at all. If you don't strengthen your strength, you will only be abandoned by the times. I need stronger power. Tony stared at the battle on the screen, but then lowered his head again for a moment, and continued to fight hard. If humans cannot protect the Earth, perhaps with the help of mechanical power. As for the immortal lizard, he has already asked the good friend he just made. The strength of the other party should be enough to solve it. On the console, a dedicated pager flashed. Appears to have just ended the call. Small days, the battlefield. Hey, that cloak boy, are you sure you can control that guy? The thunder surging on Thor's body was a little sluggish. After the chaotic battle just now, the resilience of the immortal lizard hit him hard. Maybe. Doctor Strange opened his mouth. It was his first show. During the reset time of Ancient One, although he traveled in magic for countless years, it was the first time he used it to fight against the enemy. Mirror space. Orange magic patterns bloomed on his hands, enveloping the immortal lizard in just a moment. Heaven and earth change. An upside-down space appeared under his feet, and the immortal lizard was pulled in by him. Next is, go out. Doctor Strange wields the sling ring, trying to get out of the space. Tread. Take a step forward and return to the familiar scorched earth. Did it work? Captain America rushed over impatiently. Maybe it becomes. Before Doctor Strange finished speaking, his face suddenly changed. The magic power surging in his body seemed to be drained by someone in the air. The rapid consumption rate was like being installed with a drying machine. Not good. Run. Doctor Strange's pupils constricted and he roared angrily. The mirror space collapsed, as if countless glass mirrors shot out, and they were about to hit the Avengers Alliance people. Whoosh! A powerful high-temperature ray descended from the sky, directly sweeping across all the debris, dissipating the impact into nothingness. Above the sky, Red's cloak rattled. The emblem on the chest is very eye-catching under the blue and yellow color scheme. Superman. Creak. Under Tony's remote call, they finally arrived. Looks like I'm a little late. Looking at the scorched earth on the ground, Superman, who is full of justice, has a bit of self-blame on his face. Thermal vision conversion. From the extreme high temperature rays to warm healing light waves, covering the injured Avengers Alliance members, the wounds injured in the battle began to be rapidly sterilized and stitched. Hey man, listen to me, that guy in the red cape looks cooler than you. Thor smacked Doctor Strange's shoulder knowingly. Both of them wore red capes. His name is Crick, Superman, and he should be our helper this time. Doctor Strange pushed Thor's big rough hand away. He and Creek had met each other and had a little friendship. This is not the time to talk, man, that guy is going crazy again. Thor's face darkened. The undead basilisk seemed to be eyeing the Mjolnir in his hand. He rushed forward on his own initiative. Roar. The ear-piercing roar is like a wild beast. From its appearance to the present, in just a few hours, the opponent's body has swelled to hundreds of meters in height, and its winding body is several thousand meters long, comparable to many large warships. Hateful. Thor gritted his teeth and fought. And I. Superman bloomed with the solar energy in his body, extreme heat ray burst out from his eyes, melting gold and melting jade. We're here too. Captain America threw out the vibranium shield, Barton drew his bow and arrow behind him, and Doctor Strange was brewing up his strength, trying to launch another large-scale magic bombardment, at least at the critical moment, to restrain him for a moment. Mutant Academy. Can you win? Chin-Nu's expression was a little dignified. It's very daunting. But that Superman is really strong. Cyclops frowned. The moment Superman appeared on the stage, the explosive power of his thermal vision even felt stronger than his own most powerful laser light. An unkillable monster. Wolverine had a grim expression. He originally thought that his super regeneration recovery was strong enough, but compared to the recovery power of the indestructible lizard's nuclear bomb bath, it was nothing short of scum. It's hard to imagine, is there really anything in this world that can destroy it? What if we were the ones who encountered this monster? Professor X shook his head. He didn't have the slightest chance of resisting the immortal lizard, and the most likely thing was to retreat directly. Unless. What if this monster appears in Asgard? Odin frowned tightly. The rune words hovered over Kungunir's gun body, one after another kept lighting up. It's that kind of situation. Perhaps. He could only banish the containment to the frozen realm, trying to let the extreme cold suppress his growth. Or open the frozen box to seal it. It always feels unreliable. The same question rang out from the leaders of countless forces, or the powerful. Everyone thought in unison, what should I do if I encounter such a monster? But, the bewildered result will definitely make countless people shudder. Xiao Qiang, who can't be beaten to death, with endless resilience, ever-expanding body size, strong desire to attack and hostility, even if his attack power is inferior to his heaven-defying resilience, it still doesn't detract from his terror. Known methods on the earth, there is no way to kill him at all. Kamar Taj. Will the mirror space be crushed and eaten? Ancient One frowned. Among level Godfather powerhouses, she has never been known for her attack power, and even advanced magic like mirror space can't do anything to the evil lizard. Most of the magic can't even tickle it. The terrifying size makes it difficult for Ancient One to get close. To hit the soul with one palm, you have to be close. Besides, it's hard to say whether this flesh and blood monster has a soul. Shield. Let Black Widow start Plan C. A mere member of the Avengers Alliance is far from enough for the opponent's monster. We need new helpers. Nick Fury had a dark expression on his face. The plan was just preset, but I didn't expect it to start so soon. Director. Phil Coulson had a hesitant look on his face. Just as he was about to say something, he was interrupted by Nick Fury's voice. No choice. Delaying it any longer will only make the situation worse. In a short period of time, the immortal lizard's swollen size has reached hundreds of meters, and its growth rate is simply frightening. Natasha Romanoff's expression froze during the battle. The apology on her face was fleeting. As a real agent, her execution ability is definitely the strongest. Thor, let your father help. We can't hold on. The tired body cannot support the battle. Both she and Barton are just common people without superpowers. Even Thor himself, under the confrontation of the undead lizard, his strength is almost exhausted, and he barely supports himself with a hammer. You can only watch the other party continue to grow. Could it be that the great god Odin is going to make a move? The spear that pierces the world must be able to crucify this monster. It must be possible. Hiss. Witness the myth with your own eyes. Netizens who have seen Odin's terrifying blow obviously have a lot of confidence in him. After all, he is also a god king. Do you want to make a move? Frigga, the queen, touched Odin's body. It has to be done. Midgard is also part of the Nine Realms, and Thor is still there. Odin's expression was solemn, the power of Odin in his body was pushed to the limit, and the dusty destroyer armor quietly covered him, and the blessings of the gods of the earth bloomed. Kungunir in his hand blooms with aurora. Go all out. The oath that must hit is added. The runes and words all bloomed with brilliance, just like the death of fixed star. Meteor. Run through the Nine Realms. Next moment. Odin's power was exhausted, he staggered and almost failed to stand still, his body was extremely weak, and all kinds of hidden injuries erupted instantly. Are you going to sleep again? Fu Lija helped her up, her eyes were a little worried. No, I still have it. Odin shook his head, took out a handful of clear springs to drink, the power of the fountain of youth grew in his body, and he remained youthful forever. He, who was freed from aging, no longer needed to use Odin's sleep to repair his body. This is also the reason why he dared to go all out. With all his Odin's power and the blessings of the gods blooming in the destroyer, Kungunir, who struck with all his strength, penetrated the Nine Realms in an instant, and the terrifying power was enough to kill the gods. Under the eyes of everyone's anticipation. In the broadcast screen, a flash of light suddenly appeared, directly piercing through the immortal lizard, and the flesh and blood on the body was directly annihilated into ashes under the pouring of power, leaving only the bare skeleton. The impact of spear throwing. It also caused the Earth's rotation orbit to shift. Instantly, countless waves poured into the sky. Not, is it over? Barton managed to stand still in the turmoil, and asked countless people's worries. Finish. I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Thor shook his head, looking at the light flickering on Kungunir. He was the person who knew Odin the most on the field. The runes are still in full bloom. That means that Kungunir's attack has not stopped at all. Not to mention the end of the fight. I'm going to fool it, right? I'm not dead like this. Is there any end to it? What kind of monster is this? The Earth's orbit has been shifted. If the attack continues, this monster will not die, and our Earth will be cold. Hiss, so terrifying. Quote. Seeing the picture on the screen with wide eyes, the eyes of countless people are filled with disbelief and endless fear. Kungunil was crucified to the ground. The immortal lizard was pierced by the spear point, and under the mighty brilliance, the flesh and blood were annihilated into nothingness and disappeared, leaving only a white-boned skeleton, just when everyone thought that the matter would end like this. Zzz. Flesh grows, and the sound of material devouring resounds from him. Large pieces of pitch-black flesh and blood grew out of the skeleton. Although Kungunir's burst of brilliance was constantly being annihilated, the immortal lizard was also growing, and his recovery rate was even getting faster and faster. Only the skeleton remained in the last second. In the next second, most of the flesh and blood grew out. Hiss, who? A sky-shattering roar sounded from the monster, and the piercing sound was like a sonic attack. With a roar, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Kungunir, who had poured all of Odin's strength into it, was about to fail after barely suppressing a few snaps. The body of the gun was crumbling, and it was about to be broken free by the monster. In the gradually shattered brilliance, the immortal lizard even turned its devouring target to Kungunil. Click, click, click. The sound of unknown metal crunching was extremely harsh at this moment. Eternal, the gun of eternity will be crushed and eaten by that monster. It's hopeless, it's completely dead. The God King's weapon is about to be abolished. What kind of monster is that? I don't want to die. Quote. The entire network collapsed, and the barrage was full of mourning songs, as if a white flag had been hoisted. Especially the people of certain small days. Shizuoka, Uenshima, those who are on the verge of the battlefield are fine, they are basically dead or injured, and a little further away, you can vaguely see the huge figure of the immortal lizard, and the unspeakable fear makes them crouch in the corner with their bodies hugged. This is different from what the special drama said. The monster appeared. Why didn't Ultraman come? What about Tiga? What about Light? Just when countless people looked up to the sky with full expectation. Their horrifying discovery. The sun in the sky seemed to be dimmed, as if it had been pulled away from some kind of brilliance. Little days. Scorched earth battlefield. Kungunir, who pierced through the immortal lizard, was on the verge of falling, as if he was about to be swallowed by a monster in the next moment. Thor swung his hammer angrily. The rest of the Avengers Alliance members are also on standby. Only Superman, opening his hands calmly, his body floated upwards, facing the dazzling sunlight in the sky, and the golden light burst out from his body, and he turned on the full power to the limit, absorbing the yellow sunlight in the sun. This is his strongest posture. Open your eyes, like a god descending into the world. Since energy shock can't solve you, let me try pure power. Superman's deep voice sounded like a judgment from the clouds. Thoroughly absorbing the sun's yellow light, and mobilizing the power in his body, the attack he is now bursting out is no less than the sun's nuclear energy. The endless light and heat are bursting out with unimaginable energy every moment. After completely unlocking the restrictions and constraints, even Superman doesn't know how strong he is now. Next moment, the iron-headed baby attacked and directly slammed into the immortal lizard. My God, buddy, you didn't tell me that he is so strong. Thor bumped into Doctor Strange next to him, his eyes widened. At that moment, he even felt the power emanating from Superman was more terrifying than his father Odin. It is simply a sun compressed to the extreme. Midgard. How could he still have such a terrifying character? Quote. Doctor Strange looked blank. He also didn't expect that after Superman broke out completely, he actually possessed such terrifying power. Everyone's first thought when they saw him was definitely the sun. It's like seeing the sun. He held his breath, waiting for the result of the great collision between heaven and earth, not daring to make a sound. Not just the people on the battlefield. Even the audience who watched the battle through the screen couldn't help feeling anxious, like when watching a horror movie and dare not make a sound, they instinctively suppress their breath. Next moment, heaven and earth collide, rumbling. The tremors from the earth were felt throughout the day. Like an earthquake, countless people rushed to the streets, trying to find an open shelter. Focal. 9.2 magnitude, the strongest earthquake ever recorded. The news from Shaoshan Earthquake Monitoring Bureau instantly brought the matter to a climax. The epicenter caused by the aftermath of the impact nearly destroyed the entire small day. All kinds of natural disasters swept through. Storm, tsunami, volcano. Endless destruction unfolded one after another on the island. In the center of the battlefield, the scorched earth has been completely smashed by Superman. The real sun can easily destroy the earth. After absorbing the yellow light of the sun and releasing the Superman, the aftermath of the attack is enough to destroy an island. The power exploded on the immortal lizard. As for the result, is it still useless? Seeing the solemn expression on Superman's face through the thick layers of dust and smoke, Thor felt something bad in his heart. It's an undead monster. It can't be solved at all. A rare sense of frustration appeared on Superman's face. He thought that his invincible strength would one day be defeated. The power enough to shatter a continent cannot destroy the immortal lizard. Hiss, who? The loud noise of the immortal lizard seemed to penetrate the sky. All around, there was dead silence. Fell into boundless despair. Asgard. Is this the gold content of the contents? There was horror in Odin's eyes. Even after personally experiencing the power of the Fountain of Youth, he couldn't help frowning when he saw the immortal lizard's dominance, and the strongest blow could only control him for a moment. The recovered Kunganer has become crumpled and has lost the name of eternity. Military. A deadly atmosphere spread across the center console. The people who were still proud and arrogant just now turned into quails in an instant, leaving only endless fear growing in their eyes. Such a monster. It is not human power that can stop it. Is it really hopeless? Can no one solve this stinky lizard? Solution. If we continue to fight, it's hard to say whether it will die or not. The earth will definitely explode, and multiple plates will oscillate. I'm afraid the whole life will go back decades. Everything that gets close to him will be eaten, and it can't be killed. What kind of monster is this? An atmosphere of despair and pessimism is spreading in the world. The power of Superman and Odin undoubtedly showed everyone the extremes of magic and power. This kind of terrifying strength could not have any impact on the immortal lizard, letting him continue to expand. Is there any power on Earth that can stop it? Perhaps. We still have the Foundation. Someone looked at the constantly rotating marker in the corner of the screen, as if they had discovered a new continent. Foundation. An organization that appeared in the eyes of countless people along with the exposure video. The power of the unknown is awe-inspiring. The screen in the sky alone, which cannot be erased by any force, has been explaining the strength and power of the Foundation to everyone at all times. No matter how weird the contained objects come, the video can also give relevant information in time, and it is extremely accurate. If it weren't for the information that was exposed in advance, the disaster that befell the containment would have been magnified at least 10 times or even 100 times. Faced with countless superheroes, SCP-173 is helpless. The Foundation just dispatched a team of Special Operations troops to solve it easily, and the calm and breezy attitude is enviable. Will you really make a move? Hope began to sprout in the hearts of the people in despair. Looking at the screen in the sky, countless people put their hands together and prayed. It will definitely, as long as the Foundation takes action, it will definitely be able to control that monster. That's right. That's what they exposed, and they definitely have a way. But that monster is so strong, if it continues to fight, the Earth is about to collapse. How can it be possible to stop him? It is a demon. Didn't they all say their own exposure information, immortality cannot be killed, then how to deal with it? Give up, hurry up and be chic, the end of the world is here. Quote. The barrage of bullets on the internet was divided into two sides. There are some people who hold the banner of the Foundation, but more people are frightened by the indestructible evil lizard. Odin and Superman shot one after another, and the orbit of the Earth was shifted, and the plates were turbulent. However, the immortal lizard remained unscathed and was reborn with full blood. The sky-defying posture pierced through countless people's defenses, and made them truly appreciate the horror of the contained objects. Different from the previous scenes of small fights, the immortal lizard is a truly terrifying and huge natural disaster. The speed of devouring matter will eat up the Earth sooner or later. The ferocious posture has completely lost the confidence of countless people. Mutant Academy. Foundation. The immortal lizard, can that organization really solve it? Professor X frowned. If so, in what form will the other party contain and suppress it? Shield. Foundation. Nick Fury had a solemn expression, clutching the pager tightly in his hand, trying to find comfort from the cold touch. Let the members of the various branch bases prepare to assist. Stand by. In Nick Fury's eyes, a natural disaster on the scale of the undead lizard. Even if the Foundation makes a move, it must also be a battle between dragons and tigers, and the mighty aftermath will definitely cause an irreparable impact on the Earth. Odin and Superman's shots before are a lesson from the past. It is important to be fully prepared. Military. Quote. On the center console, many people have folded their hands and prayed. Even the always arrogant general of the army lowered his arrogant head like a defeated rooster. Is there an organization that knows all the information about the contents? Relieved Odin. Slowly opening his eyes, Jin Wei was a bit dignified. Not to mention anything else. This terrifying information-gathering ability alone has already made Odin fearful. Perhaps. Is this originally a containment object? Just being controlled by the other party? Is it going to appear again? The face under the hood of Ancient One couldn't see the expression clearly. Among all people, the one who has full confidence in the Foundation is definitely Ancient One. The Ancient One, who has witnessed the future of them with his own eyes, is even more in awe of the power of the Foundation than Lin Shu himself. Countless forces or strong men murmured the same name at the same time. And they are thinking about it. What about Lin Shu, who became the center of the storm? He was looking at the screen tangled up, browsing the barrage on the internet just like the common people. Do you want to make a move? Lin Shu whispered softly, as if talking to himself. Can he deal with the immortal lizard? To some extent, this conclusion should be yes. From the Foundation's current containment and unlocked power, it is definitely difficult to deal head-on with the indestructible lizard. He can only recruit some special forces. But, from a restraint point of view, Little Peanut should be able to scare it. Lin Shu flipped through Little Peanut's document, which contained an interactive experiment with SCP-682. In theory, absolutely no problem. But, risk. Lin Shu had a gloomy expression. Although Peanut looks like a scary doll, after it enters the supernormal state, it is definitely a doomsday disaster that is more terrifying than the indestructible lizard, and its danger is self-evident. This is also the reason for Lin Shu's hesitation. He really doesn't want to take risks unless it is absolutely necessary. But, check it out now, he also had no choice. Just take a chance. A thousand-faced D-class member appeared from the base, skillfully lifted Peanut into the helicopter. The special service team took the prepared things and landed one by one behind. Just in case, Lin Shu also secretly ambushed the newly bred mutant tyrant team. Adopting a mutant version and using the Blacklight virus as a meme infection, the Blacklight tyrants all have the combat power to suppress Captain America, and finally broke out at any cost. The infection at the cost of meme collapse can also bring their combat power to another level. The power of XK-class natural disasters is not just talk. Looking at the departing fighter group. From the corner of Lin Shu's eyes, his eyes fell on the slogan in the corner of the base. We contain. We control. We protect. Buzz buzz. The propellers turned, buzzing in the sky. Foundation's black technology. In terms of speed, it is absolutely top-notch, traveling countless distances in the blink of an eye, and reaching the scorched earth of the small days. Hey, Work, look at the sky. Another new force is coming. Thor's eyes lit up. In a downhill situation, it's always nice to have help definitely. But, why is that sign so familiar? Stupid Thor scratched his head. Foundation. It's from the Foundation. Natasha Romanoff's pupils shrank, and she retrieved the contents from memory first. The Foundation has made a move. I knew they would definitely show up. The Foundation is our real hope. Quote. Familiar symbols reappeared, the storm swept the world, and the internet instantly boiled. However, no matter how noisy the outside world is, on the scorched earth battlefield, the Foundation's actions were still as straightforward as before. Tread, stepping out of the helicopter with firm steps. No matter how many times you have seen the groups of faces with expressionless faces and their faces, they still can't help but make people feel horrified. Unified pace. It's like it's already programmed. Heading towards the immortal lizard, there was no trace of fear on his face. Hey bro, that big guy is dangerous, don't get too close. They had a deep understanding of the horror of the immortal lizard just now, and they crazily devoured everything close to it. The body of several thousand meters was like a slime monster, wriggling and devouring it continuously. Seeing the reckless actions of the D-class personnel, Thor couldn't help but frown. However, his familiar character made him rush forward and stretch out his hand, trying to stop them from moving. However, before Thor approached base, the icy blade suddenly appeared out of thin air, abruptly stopping in front of Thor. Zilla. The flickering thunder light is passively activated. Tens of thousands of volts of thunder splashed on the opponent, but there was no response, and he didn't even remember the sound. Thor, who came back to his senses, realized what was standing in front of him. The jet-black body is as strong as a bodybuilding champion, with exaggerated muscular style and metal texture, more like some kind of armor integrated with flesh and blood, and the blade that pops out of the wrist seems to be integrated with the body. His whole body was filled with cold killing intent, as if it was just a masterpiece born for killing. Black light. Tyrant. So fast. Thor frowned. Even he was a little surprised by the other party's instant reaction, comparable to the most outstanding warrior in Asgard. And quantity. There are so many. Thor's pupils shrank. It was comparable to the strength of the most outstanding warriors in Asgard. How could there be so many of them under the Foundation's hands? A whole squad was entrenched behind them, as if they were just common soldiers. Glancing at Captain America out of the corner of his eye, Thor's expression was a little subtle. But, soon, Thor noticed something was wrong. More than a dozen black light tyrants gathered, surrounded by combat teams, as if they were surrounded by something. The probe looked over curiously. Shit, what the hell is that? A horrifying appearance came into view, scaring Thor enough. Scary doll. What are you doing with that thing again? Thor, who had finally calmed down, had an unpleasant expression on his face. Anyone who looks at each other with this kind of thing should not be in a good mood. But Foundation members apparently did not respond to Thor's intentions. The mechanical action unfolded as usual. Open black lens bracket executing close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket SCP-682 Immortal Lizard Containment Plan. Irrelevant people leave quickly. Close black lens bracket. The voice from the mouth of a D-class member. It was more like some kind of mechanical sound, cold and without any emotion. The Special Operations team held the magnetic storm rifle in their hands, and the blacklight tyrants also popped out their wrist blades. Senran's fighting posture shows the attitude of the Foundation. Stark building. Sure enough, it's transformation, human cloning. Tony, who was buried in his work, raised his head and looked at the screen full of technology. It strengthened his inner thoughts even more. Humanity. Earth cannot be saved. The new era belongs to machinery. Military. New power. The pupils of the top army officers shrank, and their attention was all on the newly emerging arms of the Foundation. Black light tyrant. Although the face is blurred, it can still be vaguely seen that there is a lot of similarity in appearance with the D-class members. Through technical comparison, it can basically be determined that it belongs to the same clone blueprint as those D-class members. In other words, the opponent has the ability of mass-produced black light tyrant. Judging from the brief shot just now, the data model established by the Intelligence Department shows that the physical fitness of the Black Light Tyrant is no less than that of the normal Captain America, and even exceeds it. The super soldier project they dreamed of, for which countless resources have been invested, has not been realized. There are only a few accidents and incomplete bodies, but in the opponent's organization, they are mass-produced cannon fodder. This kind of frustration is really indescribable. Shield. Are you going to start containment? Nick Fury looked at the screen with a serious expression. A little cold sweat flowed out of his clenched fists, and he couldn't help walking out. He had already arrived at the analysis desk inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Numerous instruments and screens were operating by the staff to calculate various data. Monitoring anomalies around the world is also the daily work of S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson. Nick Fury clapped his hands, and was about to call over Phil Coulson, who was next to him, but he was halfway through speaking, and he, who habitually glanced at the screen, instantly widened his one-eyed eyes. What's going on? On the pitch-black face of the marinated egg, there was a rare look of horror. Not only him, all the agents in the center console, and those who noticed the shocking change in the screen, were all shocked. Shit. Oh, my God. Tell me it's not true. The field instantly became chaotic, and after the crackling sound, there were exclamations one after another. Even well-trained agents and trained staff are like this. Not to mention the other common people in front of the screen. What did I see? Hiss. The Foundation's containment method is actually like this. This is too outrageous. Is there such a showy operation? Let magic deal with magic. No. I'm just curious, why is that guy so powerful? Online climax after another. The swarming barrage set off a frenzy like waves. In the broadcast screen of the screen, SCP-173, which had been escorted by the Special Operations Team, finally lifted the veil, and under the cover of the Black Light Tyrant, directly carried Little Peanut to SCP-682. Once the puppet sculpture appeared, the immortal lizard, who was still invincible just now, soon let out a terrified roar. The sky-shaking roar reappeared. Compared with the previous catharsis, the current roar always feels a bit harsh. After Lin Shu remotely controlled Peanut to lock the target. Next. It's the tearing part that I like to hear and see. After raging for so long, the Lord 682, whom he looked down upon, finally tasted what it was like to be beaten severely. Roar. After the Uncle 682 let out a few ear-shattering screams, he quickly curled up and hid aside, trying to stay away from Little Peanut, and was soon caught up, and a series of beatings broke out. It escapes, it chases, it cannot fly with its wings. No matter how fast Uncle 682 runs, Little Peanut can catch up in minutes. Not to mention, Uncle 682 has never been a monster known for his speed. Crooked neck. After being caught by Peanut, he followed up with a series of attacks. Although Mr. 682 was too big, he couldn't use his neck-folding technique and couldn't achieve the killing effect. But obviously, Uncle 682 didn't dare to resist the vicious Little Peanut at all. Huge amounts of eyes showed fear, as if they were afraid of something. Don't dare to do it at all. Let Little Peanut attack it. There was only one scream that overshadowed the other, like the wailing of a devil resounding on the field. Even though he was beaten all over his body, he never thought of resisting, for fear that he would destroy Peanut during the struggle and provoke an uncontrollable existence. Can't afford it. I can't afford it. In repeated neck bending, Uncle 682 was beaten to bloody flesh by Peanut, and his body kept shrinking. Afraid. Is this monster afraid? Hiss, there is something that can scare it. How powerful is that horror puppet? The horror doll is powerful. I think the Foundation is powerful. It must be the Foundation that gave it new powers. Am I the only one who noticed that the monster's body is getting smaller? I knew the Foundation would definitely be able to solve it. We contain, we protect. Foundation hail. During the screen broadcast, a shocking scene happened. All kinds of bullet screens emerge and endlessly on the internet. At last, all gathered into a few exciting words. Earth. Saved. The battle slowly ended. Uncle 682's huge amounts of body fell to the ground, his head, neck, and body were covered with scars everywhere, and 682's body tissue was stained on Little Peanut's hands. In the process of quickly recovering from the damage, 682's eyes did not forget to fixate on Little Peanut. Distorted horror can be seen on the monster-like face. Next, immediately, a stunned scene took place. How many steps does it take to put an elephant in a refrigerator? 3 steps. Open the refrigerator door, put the elephant in, and close the refrigerator door. The process of containing SCP-682 is the same. During the battle with Peanut, his body had returned to its original state, only 3 to 5 meters tall. D-Class personnel and Special Operations Team quickly stepped forward. He took out the steel plate that had been prepared and covered him directly. Open the steel plate, loop over SCP-682, and close the steel plate. Finish. Ding. Containment succeeded. Thor, who stood by and witnessed this scene with his own eyes, seemed to hear the response of the mechanical program after the containment was completed from their mechanical actions. Flowing clouds and flowing water, it seems that the actions that have been rehearsed millions of times are staged. Simple and unpretentious, it seems that there is no difficulty at all. The simple and smooth movements are as simple as putting the elephant in the refrigerator. Simple hell. Thor couldn't hold it anymore. Mjolnir's constantly flickering thunder, as well as his body on the verge of exhaustion, all proved the horror of the immortal lizard. His father, Odin, had his hands full. Superman absorbs the yellow light of the sun, which is comparable to the attitude of the sun's nuclear energy. There is also scorched earth covering hundreds of miles around. Earth off track. ... Everything is the trace of the fierce battle with the immortal lizard. The Foundation can contain the indestructible lizard so easily. It doesn't mean that the immortal lizard is weak. It can only prove in turn that the Foundation is really too strong. Strong has exceeded everyone's expectations. Midgard. Such a terrifying organization still exists. Or the opponent's base is not in Midgard at all, but the radiation range covers it. Thor had a horrified look in his eyes. This shock. It was even more shocking than Superman's full-strength burst. Even Asgard compared to them. Far less. Odin bowed his head sadly. Although he no longer wanted to admit it, Odin had to bow his head. The tip of the iceberg revealed by the Foundation had completely shocked this invincible god king who galloped through the 9 realms. Even if he had faced the celestial god group before, he didn't have such deep fears. Invincible. Odin, who once waved his knife at the Tenjin group angrily, chose to bow his head this time. Hope. He has goodwill towards the 9 realms. Odin of at the moment seems to be no different from the countless common people who pray for peace on the earth. Kamar Taj. Did it really work? Ancient One had a look of amazement on his face. It has long been guessed that the matter will be resolved smoothly, but the scene of the Foundation's containment of the indestructible evil lizard was obviously taken aback by Ancient One, who actually used another containment object to fight the new containment object. Especially, SCP-173 and she are still old acquaintances. With the help of Eye of Agamotto, Ancient One has rehearsed thousands of ways to deal with SCP-173, but in the end it ended in failure. It is easy to suppress for a short time, but it is completely impossible to suppress it once and for all. And just like this, her helpless containment is as cute as a quail in front of the Foundation. It not only erased the aftermath of the riots. Also, as the arm refers to, it is directly used as part of the strength. What a horrible organization. The expression of amazement on Ancient One's face became more intense. Suddenly, he thought of the majestic phantom he saw on the long river of time when he was spying on him before. All are unimaginable horrors, which make people feel horrified. Sorcerer Supreme. Wong put down the magic book in his hand and looked over worriedly. Fine. Ancient One shook his head, feeling an inexplicable throbbing in his heart. Maybe it's because I'm too tired. Ancient One stretched out his hand and pinched the center of his eyebrows. The touch near the pupil membrane was a little hard, like some kind of scales. But there are too many things. Ancient One obviously didn't care, just waved his hand, and turned his eyes back to the screen. You must pay attention to rest. Even holy place cannot lack your protection, and you need to take action to resist the invasion of other dimensions. If something happens to you, the news will spread, and the earth will definitely be targeted by countless demons and ghosts. Wang put down the things in his hands and helped him over with one hand. They have studied with Ancient One since they were young, and their entire family exists to serve the Supreme Mage. Don't worry. And Stephen, he is the most excellent of us. There was a smile on the corner of Ancient One's mouth, and his deep eyes were like a starry sky, filled with trust. Pocket space. Foundation base. Buzz buzz. With the turning of the propeller, the tranquility in the base is broken. Lin Shu was finally able to completely let go of the anxiety he had been feeling all along. Fortunately, containment went smoothly. There were no surprises that he feared. Little Peanut's seal is very firm, and there is no sign of supernormal appearance. Perhaps it was also the strong appearance of the Black Light Tyrant, which attracted the attention of many people, and the invincible image created by the Foundation made them afraid. No one dared to take a casual test, so the containment mission ended safely. D-Class members wearing the same overalls coordinated and orderly recontained SCP-173 into the room. Then, it was only then that the heavy steel plate box was carried off from the largest helicopter. There is a special pipe on the side, and the Black Light Tyrant is continuously pouring strong sulfuric acid into it to ensure that SCP-682 is in a weak state and prevent accidental riots. Open black lens bracket ding. Containment of SCP-682 successful. Close black lens bracket. Rewards are being distributed. Close black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the controllable version SCP-682 Immortal Lizard. The expected reward, Lin Shu didn't even raise his eyebrows. Just pull it. Pull out the phantom of the panel directly. Controllable version SCP-173 Immortal Lizard. Size huge amounts of reptiles, any known means cannot kill him. Close black lens bracket. It is highly aggressive to life forms, possesses almost immortal characteristics, can devour energy and matter to grow from organic and inorganic matter, has almost unlimited growth ability, and has no growth limit. Owner Lin Shu can control it under its normal state, lock the attack target, adjust the growth rate. Note: there seems to be some kind of power inside. After receiving the corresponding power infection, it will be injected with high-dimensional information and enter a new posture. Please use it with caution. Another supernormal state. Lin Shu's eyes moved slightly, thinking of a certain version of Mr. 682. Smash. That's really troublesome. Anyway, it can also be related to the supreme divinity. Although its superior has been beaten to a residual blood, it is obvious that not everyone can touch porcelain. Lin Shu raised his eyebrows, and immediately decided to seal it up at the bottom of the base. The number of strong sulfuric acid injections has increased tenfold. Move Little Peanut's room to the side of Uncle 682 to facilitate communication at any time. Snapped. Lin Shu clapped his fists and reached a decision within minutes. Open black lens bracket ding. Close black lens bracket. The host successfully contained 5 abnormalities, and the Foundation's authority was initially unlocked. Open black lens bracket new module loading close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket module loaded close black lens bracket. Preliminary unlocking of Foundation permissions. Special meme, Thamiel Twin Gods. Every dog has his day. A look of joy appeared on Lin Shu's face. Just now, because of the supernormal threat from Mr. 682, the worries were swept away in an instant. Especially when opening new modules. After watching a large block of horror power on the screen, the smile on the corner of Lin Shu's mouth became a lot more real in an instant, and he could finally breathe a little easier with the heavy responsibility on his shoulders. Previous containment operations appeared safe. But in fact, only Lin Shu knew that it was a tightrope walk at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Success, hello and me. If you fail, it's game over. He didn't have any means to turn things around, he could only sit back and watch the situation collapse, purely dancing on the tip of his knife. But now, finally the situation is reversed. Thamiel the Twin Gods. The strongest spear and guardian shield controlled by the Foundation. It is also the Foundation's most powerful force among the 6 danger ratings, where they have the confidence to suppress all abnormalities. Lin Shu has never been found in the exchange list of the Foundation before. Is the relationship not enabled enough? Tisk. Unfortunately, the authority is still a little lower. Lin Shu smacked his lips. A considerable portion of the cascading data torrent is gray and unusable. Open black lens bracket ding. Insufficient exposure value, cannot be redeemed. Close black lens bracket. Forcibly click, only a pop-up window will pop up. Is exposure worth it? Lin Shu's eyes moved slightly, and the ending was as expected. But the good news is that he doesn't have to worry about permissions. In the current foundation, he is the only living person from the inside to the outside. He is the person with the highest authority by default, one of the O5 sequences, and the only one with absolute dominance in terms of authority. As long as the module is enabled, it is the default highest authority. Open black lens bracket ding. Containment of SCP-682 complete. Do you want to open the drawing of the sixth contained object to expose and come? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket weather close black lens bracket. Lin Shu also wants to accumulate a large amount of exposure as soon as possible. It is used to activate the middle and high-level memes in the Thamiel meme, and keep 1 or 2 cards in hand for emergencies. How could he refuse the opportunity with a large number of points in place? Resolutely click OK. Any moment of hesitation is disrespect for the new power. Light and shadow turn. What popped up from the screen was a silhouette, like the screen of an old TV, with snowflakes constantly falling on the screen, frame by frame faltering, with a feeling of distortion. It seemed that the appearance was deliberately blurred, so as not to confuse people see clearly. Oh, it's actually it. Lin Shu smiled lightly with interest. If it was before, I really couldn't solve it. But now, looking at the special meme that was just unlocked, Lin Shu no longer has any worries. At this moment, he is also a confident person. Then the next thing to do is to randomly pick a time for an unlucky guy. This containment is a bit special, distance and space don't mean much to it. Since it is impossible to place it in front of a certain character at a fixed point, it will not have much impact if it falls anywhere. Lin Shu didn't hesitate, and directly chose random arrival. Little days. Scorched earth battlefield. It's really desolate enough. Thor scratched his head. This is almost catching up with the territory of the Flame Titan. Man, listen to me, you Midgardians are really good at weapons research, and you are almost catching up with dwarfs. Thor touched Doctor Strange on the shoulder. After a bloody battle, Thor, who was acquainted with each other, obviously had a better sense of Doctor Strange, and the two became familiar with each other somehow. Perhaps. Is this how the crazy warrior makes friends? By fighting. Ahem. I think it's about time we left. Doctor Strange wiped his nose in embarrassment, not knowing whether to cry or laugh at Thor's praise. Whether it's from the perspective of a surgeon or a magician. This kind of thing is not the category he is good at. Humanity and self-judgment are matters for philosophers. It's best to ask Black Widow next to him. Those agents who have relations with high-level officials must understand this topic better. Leave. Don't you need to deal with the scorched earth here? Thor frowned. The lingering radiation spread across the land, which had little effect on them with extraordinary power. But for common people, and Thor's supernatural power can also make him hear the wailing of countless human beings in the distance. Time is running out. Black Widow's cold voice sounded beside him, pointing to the screen in the sky. Ticking clock. The countdown began again, and a new storm had begun. How could they stand still? Countdown to exposure of the sixth containment object, 9 hours and 32 minutes. We want to return as soon as possible. Black Widow's expression was firm. This is where the agent is left. SHIELD also has a branch here. I'll stay. Barton drew his bow, retracting into a melee weapon. I'll be in charge of the aftermath. Take the time to go back and deal with the next shock. Yang raised the communicator in his hand. It had been authorized by Nick Fury. That's all for now. Thor definitely has no objection that Midgard is not Asgard affiliated after all. Then let's go. Doctor Strange nodded. With the hand wearing the sling ring, he waved outwards, and the flames splashed, directly opening a portal. Everyone from the Avengers Alliance followed behind him, stepping in one by one. Stark building. Sir, the containment has been successfully resolved. Tony continued to bury his head in the fight, working hard without distraction, and all kinds of electric sparks rang out beside him. The plan in his mind, he already has a sketch. Shield. Clatter. A torrent of data flows down from midair. Countless staff and agents are constantly typing on the keyboard in a space full of technology. The most central miniature. The reality is the loss of small days, and the most eye-catching current situation of the Earth. What's the result? Nick Fury has a heavy voice. Most of the coastal territory of the island country was shattered, and most of the area was polluted by radiation, which must be cleared. Other areas suffered heavy losses, and the loss of personnel was immeasurable. Countless buildings were destroyed everywhere. The overall economy has set back nearly 50 years. Phil Coulson walked over with a pile of documents. Nick Fury nodded, indicating that he knew. He is not interested in these, and he has never lived in a small life, so he has no special feelings. What he cares more about is the Earth. The orbit has deviated by 7%, and we are trying our best to correct it. The tectonic plate is turbulent, leading to tsunamis and frequent volcanoes. We are cooperating with the Security Council to stabilize as soon as possible. Disasters occur frequently everywhere, but they are still generally under control. Sub-base agents, except for emergency missions and seed plans, all start to go out. When Phil Coulson pulled the information panel, a large number of models popped up from the side, pouring out a torrent of data. Nick Fury's stern expression softened slightly, at least not the worst he had expected. Take care of the aftermath. Our time is running out. Nick Fury looked up, and the dazzling countdown on the sky was running out. Countdown. 5 hours and 58 minutes. Military. Sir, Shaoshan's emergency communication, is it connected? A young major with epaulets came running in. Reject. The high command of the army had a cold face. They all suffered heavy losses this time. The battleships and aircraft carriers roaming outside the sea were targeted by the immortal lizard. Most of their combat power was destroyed, and countless fighter jets and missiles were lost. Connected. Connect the fart. It's not just here to ask for supplies. Now that the Empire can't even take care of itself, how can there be resource outflows? Etc. Just when he refused, the army general with a higher position above said, send a batch of obsolete military supplies and impending supplies. In these chaotic times, the Empire needs outside power. The vicissitudes of the eyes, like an old eagle, still have a sharp edge in their eyes. Obviously, he regards Shaoshan as a meat shield in front of him. Keep it by your side for emergencies. Squinting his eyes slightly to look into the air, worry couldn't stop rising on his face, and he couldn't see the previous arrogant appearance at all. It's about to start again. He sighed deeply, with a breath of twilight. Countdown. 3 hours and 27 minutes. Spear Bureau. In the deserted conference room, the superhero sat neatly on the seat. Unlike the dignified atmosphere in other places, watching the scorched earth battlefield broadcast on the screen, instead of showing any sadness, there was a bit of weirdness on the contrary. The corners of the mouths of many members couldn't help twitching slightly, as if holding back a smile. Ahem, you've almost got it. Anyway, it's a natural disaster. Zheng Xian patted the table. Don't let the weird atmosphere continue to spread. Well, even if you want to laugh, wait until you laugh in private, and act like me on the scene. Zheng Xian curled his lips, he was one of the members who held back their laughter. Okay, back to the topic. Response, containment. With a wave of his hand, Zheng Xian pulled towards the holographic projection, and a large piece of data flowed down. All of the above are the information of the contained objects that have appeared, and the development process after the arrival. The data is very detailed. It is the information shared by S.H.I.E.L.D. We will study together and try to find the rules. Looking at the time in the corner of the screen, Zheng Xian had a serious expression. I don't know how long their stability can last. Countdown. 1 hour and 30 minutes. Gotham City, Metropolitan City, Queens, Manhattan. From all over the world, all eyes are gathered together, nervously waiting for the countdown to end. Whether it is a superhero or a villain, none of them can ignore this terrifying power. Some people try their best to protect the peace, while others try to gain power from it as a shortcut to the sky. In the long-awaited eyes, the countdown pointer finally reached the end and completely returned to 0. Exposure, 6th containment item SCP-096 Shy Man. The pitch-black screen lights up. A 2-meter-tall humanoid hovers over the east wall. The arms are seriously disproportionate to the body, it looks 1.5 meters long, the skin is completely free of pigment, and there is no hair at all, it looks kind of indescribably weird. The eyes are empty, and the eyes are absent, without the slightest expression, making people uncertain whether they are blind or normal. Besides, other facial features are highly similar to humans. Like some kind of slightly defective human being. It looks very docile, this time the containment does not seem to be a big threat. Is it finally safe? I'm almost scared to death. It should be fine. I have been curled up in the corner. No wonder the shy person is an introverted containment, right? A network like boiling water is rare and somewhat quiet. Whether it's the name or the appearance, the contained objects this time seem to be of the quiet type. Many people, who were anxious and uneasy, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. World-ending disasters come one after another, endlessly, who can stand it? Is it safe? Nick Fury frowned, he wasn't letting his guard down so quickly. Looking nervously at the follow-up of the exposure video. Open black lens bracket SCP-096 shy person close black lens bracket. Object class, Euclid. When someone sees SCP-96's face, whether it's directly seen, or a video, a photo, it will enter a sad state in the eyes. SCP-096 will cover his face with his hands, start screaming, crying, about 1 after 2 minutes, it will rush to kill anyone who sees its face. Note: SCP-096 has extremely fast speed when chasing and killing, from 35 km per hour to unlimited. Open black lens bracket it is very shy, afraid of being seen by others close black lens bracket. Shish, shy. You call that shy? Looking at the description of the contents on the exposure video, Nick Fury is not feeling well. The shy way of this containment is to kill all the people who have seen its appearance. What kind of shyness is this? Nick Fury couldn't resist smashing the computer. Who taught you how to write entries? Such an outrageous name is too confusing. Unlimited speed. After being shocked by SCP-96's shy way of prescribing, Nick Fury was quick to notice its labeling speed. The starting speed of 35 km/h did not surprise him much. But, unlimited growth rate. How do you look at this thing? How outrageous. Shouldn't it really be able to exceed the speed of light? Nick Fury muttered to himself, he couldn't believe it, but the Foundation's exposure and its usual plain and unpretentious style made him unable to question it. The exposure and arrival of various contained objects, at the information level, did not miss a bit. If you say omnipotent, you will be omnipotent. If you say you will not grow old, you will not grow old. If you say you will not die, you will not die. Honesty would put countless TV pitches to shame. Etc. It's not right. Nick Fury, who was still guessing the upper limit of SCP-96's speed and thinking about the solution, finally found the blind spot. Whether you see it directly, or see it in photos or videos, it will enter a sad state. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket then. Start killing. Close black lens bracket. Photos. Videos. This kind of online record is also okay. Nick Fury's pupils shrank. However, he knew that as the Foundation exploded and dominated the sky to form a projection, all things related to the Foundation were worth 100 times, and countless people fanatically chased this existence. In the past, all the projected images were recorded or sold by someone. Don't say anything else. Organizations and powerful forces in various countries alone must have video backups of these. Don't ask him why he's so sure, because that's what they do with S.H.I.E.L.D. Make a copy of the recording in case you need it. These are before, definitely understandable. But now, all became death gods who demanded their lives. Not to mention, when this loophole is discovered, there will definitely be countless people who want to take advantage of it. The cost of copying a photo or recording a video is really too low, and anyone can do it. Quick, notify the Information Security Department, the entire network blocks relevant data videos. Never let any data leak out. Also, notify the Security Council and note to all countries in the world, be sure to block it completely. Let the agent of the Ministry of Information block relevant content from the entire network. Never allow it, even the slightest trace appears on the internet. Nick Fury's face was gloomy, and his expression was extremely tense. Because a shy person kills the program, it takes 1 to 2 minutes to kill one, and the threat and destructiveness are far inferior to the previous natural disaster-type containment, so the marinated egg is too dignified, and it is regarded as a crisis of annihilation. But, now, its dangers rise absolutely infinitely. The special trigger method makes it the easiest to use and the most troublesome among the contained objects. The hunting grounds of other contained objects are the landing places. For most human beings, they are just watching a killing drama, and it has nothing to do with them. But Shy Man, its hunting ground is the whole world, and even more. Mutant Academy. Obviously, it wasn't just Nick Fury who realized the horror of things, quite a lot of smart people reacted. Danger. Absolutely don't allow its images to circulate on Earth. Professor X's pupils shrank, and while Cyclops led the students to clean up, he himself started to act. The huge super ability blooms, taking its own radius as the original center, aggressively invading other people's thinking, controlling human actions and starting to delete relevant network information, erasing network traces as much as possible, as well as relevant memories in their minds. It was definitely not just the two of them who acted in the same way. All over the world, in an instant, it became a mess, especially the turbulent internet. In the face of the two doomsday natural disasters, the internet that has not collapsed is hardened, and it is completely cold now. Military. Sir, the erasure of information has begun. The young major reported with the documents in his arms. The general nodded. The tense mood finally relaxed a little. Fortunately, they discovered it in time, and the situation should not have deteriorated beyond control. He breathed a sigh of relief. But, suddenly, a trembling sound of surprise came from his ear. Sir. If seeing it in videos and photos is considered a trigger medium, then we are now. The young major pointed in front of him. On the screen. Expose the footage of SCP-096, it will be broadcast live all over the world simultaneously. Among other things, they are one of the watching crowd. Hiss. The army general gasped and turned on the light, looking at the screen in surprise. Just at the moment, SCP-096, which was still hovering around the corner, suddenly squatted down shyly, and buried his face in his hands. This is hunting posture. Quick, tell everyone, stop watching the exposure video. Block all relevant exposure videos to level 10 prohibited. Finally, repeat, so people, don't look up at the sky. The army general's horrified voice sounded in the conference room. With trembling arms, he wished he could gouge out his eyeballs. If he hadn't seen the pictures in the video, he would have been locked by SCP-096 in all likelihood. With his character of saving his life, he would definitely rush out and run away. Gotham City. Has the killing started? Bruce frowned, notifying the global warning, which has been forced to all mobile phones. But as Batman, he obviously won't be afraid of it. If he wanted to be targeted, he would have been targeted a long time ago. Let him throw away his phone and close his eyes, and then wait for death or survive in ignorance. This negative approach has never been in his character. Bruce cared more about SCP-96's method of killing than escaping like a mouse. Across the space, can you also sense the tracking? Bruce frowned. Soon. Facts told him the answer. On the broadcast screen, the light and shadow suddenly came on, and SCP-096 was squatting in the corner, crying vaguely. Sudden. Disappeared in place. The space around the video is transformed along with it. Wait until the screen appears again. The target has appeared on a bustling street, surrounded by cars and crowds. SCP-096 appears on the side of the road. The colorless eyes raised their heads and locked on a somewhat obese woman in front of them. The extremely fast speed is like a sports car with the accelerator pressed to the bottom, and it is the kind that starts from zero. Like a gust of wind blowing. When he stood still again, he was already in front of the obese woman. Then, pounce on her face. Prickly. The sound of tearing resounded in the street, followed by a bloody scene. The murderous appearance could not cover up the bloody appearance even if coated, it made people sick. So disgusting, My God, the method of killing people in this containment is too disgusting, right? Scaring someone to death, this is more brutal than queuing up and shooting. Quote. Caught off guard by the bloody scene that appeared on the screen, countless people instinctively felt nauseous, and almost vomited out the overnight meal. Although there are eagle sauces in other countries, the United States sent prohibition regulations. But people who can't control their curiosity and want to die will obviously never disappear. After all, there are always people who are lucky. 7 billion people, why come to me so soon? Going my own way and still looking up at the sky, there is no way to hide the bright scene in the sky. Block the source. Non-existent. Compared with those curious guys, Bruce, who is desperately guarding in front of the screen, is obviously looking for first-hand information. Really? The cold face sank completely. The obese woman who was killed was lying in a pool of blood, and the mobile phone in her hand was playing the exposure video. A terrifying attack cannot be detected by the naked eye, only when it comes, the person dies. An attack beyond ordinary comprehension. And the death of the obese woman is obviously just the beginning of the prelude. The constant flow of people on the street is her real hunting ground. It was seen again. He squatted down in an instant, and the sound of whimpering and crying sounded in the street. It sounds pitiful and distressing, but for passers-by who know the details of SCP-096 and have seen it kill with their own eyes, this is simply the whisper of death god. Help! Help! I don't want to die, where is the superhero? Run, monster! There are monsters behind. Quote. Horrified eyes appeared on the faces of countless people, and then various scenes of running wildly were staged. Dee, Zilla, clang, rumble, running desperately in multiple directions, under the threat of death, everything was left behind. Those with a car opened the accelerator to the highest level, and rushed out directly. Those who were walking lost their things in their hands, and immediately took out the speed of a 100-meter sprint. Some of the quick-witted ones rushed into the alleyway twisting and turning, trying to cover their figures with the terrain. Just a moment. The bustling and troubled neighborhood instantly turned into a scene of a large car accident. Various disasters occurred frequently, and the sound of car crashes and explosions was not uncommon, making it seem like a mess. It happened to be the scene of the killing of SCP-096. A gust of wind blew by, and another fresh life disappeared. Then, feeling being watched, he continued to squat down and cry. Kill, cry, kill, cry. It's like a killing cycle. Asshole. Aren't we going to do it like this? Captain America slapped the table angrily, with an unusually solemn expression. The location of SCP-96's killing has been locked, and the landmark of the Statue of Liberty is next to it. Do you have any questions? Shoot. Nick Fury pressed down on the table and shook his head firmly. No, we can't act rashly until the investigation is clear. The target this time is different from the previous monsters. The speed at which SCP-096 kills is uncanny. It rushed up at an extremely fast speed, and then there was a bloody death. The picture slowed down for countless frames, and it was impossible to find the method it used, just like the rule of dying if you touch it. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.